Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has pushed a little bit higher, has reacted here on the daily chart to the support zone and is now again on its way to next resistance. We want to start on the daily chart as we're heading into a new trading week. We will take a look at the micro count in a minute, but as I said in the last video, this video here will be first about the daily chart again. So in case you subscribed when I made the last video and you wanted to see the daily chart, here it is. Yeah, the two scenarios are still valid. I'm glad to see some upside because, as you know, the communication was that the white scenario is the one I prefer, which is the one in which wave 3 topped in March and we had a ABC flat correction in wave 4. Then the wave 5 consists of 5 waves and wave 1 of 5 could be unfolding right now. This would be wave 1, wave 2, A, B, C in wave 3, then wave 4, then wave 5, then we would have a 5-wave move. This would be wave 1 of 5. We would then be watching for wave 2 of 5 and this would be a decent setup to trade the third wave. So this is something to watch for, this 5-wave pattern. The wave 2 pullback will be a clean setup. This here was also a setup. It could still be one. We could still test that area again, which is what the green wave count reminds us of, but it wouldn't change much. It would just mean another dip into support. Arguably has become less likely with the push that happened overnight. That 5th wave we talked about in the last video that we wanted to see for clarity, but I will talk about that more on the smaller time frame, talking about the internal structure, right? Ultimately, this yellow scenario, which has been the alternative, has become far less likely, okay, with that structure. It's only been the alternative anyway, but it's become even less likely, I'd say, with the latest push to the upside. Well, that's good for the bulls. That would mean the bears would need to develop another setup to really make that more likely, because yeah, it could still be a 1-2 setup to the downside. Okay, that's the yellow count where we are sent down into that 43 to 49k region, but there's no follow through and we are holding the upper support area, and overall it seems likely that we are not following the yellow count. It's not impulsive to the downside either, so we can talk about that a little bit more if the bears are taking the lead again, but at the moment it seems like the bulls are leading and we're following the white scenario, even though it's choppy, even though it's ugly, but that's what diagonal patterns are. That is not an impulse. I talked about that extensively. So the movements to the upside haven't been impulsive, which means we don't need to be bearish, but have to be cautious. And it is important to watch this trend line, okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 touch points of this trend line, and this ideally we would get there next around 68k. Yeah, so this is something to watch for. This here is the daily chart. Overall, if the price dips back into the support area, it could be an opportunity. I would then see this as extension of white wave B, but I've highlighted this in green to indicate, you know, this is just a different pathway, but of pretty much the same scenario. And we could then test the support area again before reacting and then starting to move up. Now let's take a look at the smaller time frame. And if we take a look at the smaller time frame here, you see it that this move up is now a pretty clean 5-wave move up. However, the proportions are a bit weird, so I will not rule out that wave 2 already bottomed. As I said yesterday, wave 1 can be a 3-wave move. So at the moment, we were watching for a 5-wave move, right? For clarity. This is now a 5-wave move, but it's time now to start the pullback. So it's all about understanding, okay, did wave B really bottom on Thursday, the 10th of October? I'm talking about this B wave here. The different wave degree on the larger time frame, because the larger time frame obviously includes all the different, all the price history and everything. So the question was, has the B wave already bottomed? If yes, then we should hold above that micro support area, which was a bit lower yesterday. I've adjusted it based on the latest price action. So the idea was, as long as we hold it, the focus can be on higher. If there is an opportunity, if there is a pullback, it can be an opportunity. The market gave us a pullback. It was shallow, too shallow to be a reliable wave 2, but not too shallow to be a valid wave 2. Okay, so it can be a wave 2 already. We could already be in the third wave. Okay, and what else? Yeah, and if it's a 5-wave move now, it's more clearly bullish, and it is 5 waves now. The proportions still do work. But at the same time, there is no sign that this 5-wave move is complete. And if we keep pushing and pushing, specifically if we get above 65,728, it becomes more likely that we're already directly in the third wave. It's just something to consider. So if we break through, then break above the trend line I just showed you and reach 68,740, I assume we're already in the third wave. Then we could get another wave 4 and a wave 5 to complete this C wave. The problem is if we're already moving higher directly, as per, let's say, the yellow count, where I'm indicating that wave 2 already bottomed yesterday, then this structure is very prone to failure because it's only a diagonal pattern, it's not an impulse. Okay, with a 5-wave move up, it would be more clearly bullish. But as you know, we are dealing with a C wave, and a C wave can be an impulse or a diagonal. I'd mentioned that yesterday extensively, that it is possible that wave 1 topped in 3 waves, okay? And if that's the case, then it can go higher directly, of course, and it can, but it might morph along the way because then it would be a diagonal pattern, this C wave up. Okay, so overall, I mean, it is still a, but that makes sense because this rally that happened from yesterday's low was a 3-wave move, the first one. So it kind of looks a bit like a diagonal because if a third wave, if this is the third, starts with a 3-wave move, yeah, maybe this is a diagonal pattern. But again, we won't know until we see a break above those key pivots. So next pivot is 65,728, then the trend line, and then here. And it, you know, it would take a dip into support to really clearly indicate we are in this wave 2, which is now 60,180 to 62,574. Again, I tried to make it as simple as possible. It could still be that we test a lower support area, of course, but it's now the 61,180 level, which distinguishes upside momentum from a larger B wave. So overall, looking promising for the bulls, but we now have to pay very close attention to what happens here. I will keep you updated on Discord along the way today because we're now obviously at a key area. If we keep pushing, then probabilities might shift. It will be ironically, it might be less bullish because if we just keep pushing, then yeah, we could be directly in the third wave, but it could also still be an X wave in green. So it will be very important to watch the microstructure. Ultimately, none of that really has an impact on the daily chart. Okay, and if you're just interested in the, let's say, the bigger picture and if Bitcoin is bottomed, it doesn't matter so much if it's the white or the green count or whether we already have a 5-wave move up or whatever. The idea was here to use that support area to scale in and build a position if you wanted to. That's also what I communicated earlier last week on Discord as a possible setup. There were 4 different trade ideas I had. This was the first one Bitcoin presented. So we'll see if it works out. Just make sure that you understand that we could test the support area again. Okay, that's at the moment the update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, and please check out the channel membership. Also make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.